life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abi.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
Hey, Connected Life peeps. Justin and Abi are here. And
You're cute.
I am cute. I just spent the day. So at the time of the recording of this, it'll have been pre me going to my 20-year reunion.
Oh.
It's 21-year reunion because it didn't work out
COVID.
so well last year. Yeah. And it happens to be an all-class reunion.
Ooh, so all the classes can come back and see all of the people.
Yeah. And so with that, I'm actually going to do an episode. Hopefully, I'm looking to find interviews back home. I don't know if that will happen.
Okay.
So we're going to fumble through it and see if we can get anything.
See if there's anything interesting.
But I did have a couple phone calls with old classmates today.
Ooh.
I had a phone call with one guy I haven't talked to in 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
8 minutes. That call lasted 8 minutes. And it was one of those, like, he was a little caught off guard. Oh, hey, what's happening? I was finding out if he was going to make it there. And then I dropped a little nugget in his lap and was like, here's what a gift you were when I was a kid, and here's why.
Aww.
And he was very receptive to that.
That's nice.
So I currently, this will wrap this.
Something I want to do in my life is just like make a list of people that I know and send them notes from the past.
Right.
It's a good idea.
Good ones instead of like a checklist of people you must get revenge on.
No, my list, I have a list where I want to like apologize to people for. You know,
oh, yeah.
I always think I should go through the 12 steps.
Yeah, I went through an apology list at one point early in college.
And then a list of people that I'm thankful for.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do have a gift that I'm sending him in the mail. It's an action figure, G.I. Joe action figure named Serpentor.
Not a surprise.
Well, this is why. Because when we were best friends, he had just done the mail away thing where you mailed away and you got this Serpentor figure. It was like the biggest thing. Everybody was freaking out about getting a hold of it. Brand new. Hands it over to me. He's like, check it out. And I go, I grabbed a slingshot and I was like, let's make him fly. And it shattered into a million pieces as it bounced off the concrete wall in his basement. And you watched his soul break.
Oh gosh! And you're like, I'm sorry, I owe you a Serpentor.
And so I have that for him.
That's hysterical.
I've been meaning to get it to him for a while, and so I'm gonna send it to him. He's not gonna make it to the reunion, but so with that said, we're talking about triggers and past experiences here today.
Yeah. Why are we doing that?
We're doing that because right now, signups are happening for the Pathway to Freedom. And on the Pathway to Freedom, you get to see Abby's beautiful mug and her best friend Peetsy's beautiful mug. And the Pathway to Freedom is a course that is opening up your eyes to what your emotions are trying to help you heal inside of your life.
Help you understand what you're feeling, when you're feeling it, where it's coming from, what to do with it. Most people feel handicapped by their emotions. Their emotions feel like bullies. And so we are giving a pathway to freedom.
Oh my God.
It's almost like we named that
the
purposely.
name alone. I must buy.
Yeah.
So if you guys have been hearing about this in this journey, you can just jump onto Justin and Abi, that's abi.com. Find out more on the Pathway to Freedom in our courses area.
And there's a bunch of testimonies of what people have said about it. This course is what we have we train life consultants, for those of you who don't know that. And every single life consultant I have goes through this training and then does homework on this training for an entire year.
Yes.
Because we so believe this is fundamental to people understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we decided we have a life consulting masterclass.
If you're interested in that year-long thing, you can also email us. Year-long, deep intensive. In fact, the person we have on today is one of our life consulting masterclass students.
Yeah, that's what I was about to do.
And you can email us at lfa@stumvolconsulting.com if you want to find out more about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so we train a bunch of life consultants. And so we've asked a couple of the people in training to come be on the podcast and let us walk them through something so that you guys can understand like the heart of what Pathway to Freedom is. Learning how to connect to your triggers, get healing. Like it's I mean, we go into in-depth logical and emotional teaching and healing in the course. And it really does teach you how to love yourself and let love in the process. But so we have our student here who's going to allow us to be, he's going to be brave. And we're so excited
Dave
to do that.
the Brave.
Dave
That's
the
who's
Brave.
on here today.
Yes.
Hey there.
Hey there, Dave. You big old smiler. I like that big old smile of yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a privilege.
Dave, I call him Dave the Brave because he's done some risk with me. Is there any part of that risk you want to share about this year, interacting with me?
Well, there was a time when we had a situation when on class when you called on me, and I got very uncomfortable, and it felt really awkward. And so what happened was I the next day I texted you. I was like, "Could you call me? Is that okay?"
Aww.
And so you called me and we had a conversation about it. So
yeah. And how did you feel that conversation went?
I felt super loved. And that's what it just, you explained everything. Like you could see that I was a little bit nervous, and you could sense that I was like not ready to let my guard down. And so you backed off in love. And you just showed love like no one else can. Like it's just, I was just floored with love, and I really appreciate that.
That's awesome, Dave. Thank you for sharing that. And it's so great to hear that you felt loved. And I think that part of the dialogue that we're going to get into with Dave today even connects to the way that he was relating to me as a male authority figure. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's necessary to understand that when Dave and I went into that conversation, there was a place where I knew Dave was triggered. Didn't mean that I didn't do anything wrong at all. It just, I knew that there was something else that was going on inside of him.
Yeah.
And because I knew that this wasn't about me failing or me being a bad leader or a bad person, I could enter in and engage that situation with compassion and understanding, because I could say, okay, I can see that in a non-demeaning way, there is a little boy here that has pain in a very specific arena. And if I can come and meet him in ways that maybe he didn't necessarily get met in his history, that it's not just going to sweep this thing under the rug and no longer be a problem for me, but it's actually going to be a resolution for Dave's heart, just getting to have an encounter with me, just being present with kindness and care and understanding.
Yeah. It does help. It's why we created the materials that we have, is so that people can have deeper relationships and know what's happening when there's high emotions going on, to understand the dynamics. So let's go ahead and jump into Dave, hearing a little bit about your life story. Give us like a 5-minute version of who you are and where you've been.
Well, I'm married to my wife, Shanna, and I believe you guys had her on the podcast earlier.
Yeah.
And
she is a doll. She's so
fun.
Sweet.
I scored. I am just the luckiest man in the world to have my wife.
I love that.
And we have 2 daughters. One's 9 years old, Lillian, and another one, 18 months. Her name's Hadley.
Aww.
And we live in Nova Scotia, Canada, as of right now.
Yeah.
So right now, our house has been sold, and we're looking to move, and we're in a huge transition.
Oh.
So so that's what's going on right now with us.
I love transition.
Oh, it's a trigger.
It's 500 triggers.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to go back to my history a little bit, my parents, I'll tell you a little bit about my parents. My parents were both born in Holland. My mom
Dutch.
They're Dutch, yes.
Okay.
My mom was born in May of 1945, like days after World War II ended.
Whoa.
And then my dad was born a couple years later in Holland. And when they were young, when she was 7, I don't know the years exactly, but when they were about 5 or 7 years old, they both immigrated to Canada with their large families. They both grew up in a large family. My mom was one of 11.
Whoa.
And my dad was one of 10 kids.
Ooh. So they actually had a lot of understanding for each other's worlds.
Yes. but after, as you can imagine, after World War II, the country's trying to get back on their feet again.
Survival mode.
After it's just total trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And so they immigrated to Canada, and they grew up in the church too, and so they brought their Christian beliefs over from Holland, from the 1940s Holland, into Canada. And so so my parents got married years later, found each other, and then so I grew up in a Christian home. I was one of 5 kids. I'm the middle kid. I have an older
real
brother.
Small family.
Yeah, real small. It's
only half of what they had.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of fun dynamics. So and so we grew up in a very conservative church. That's what they were familiar with. And so we knew a lot about God and catechism and all the, formalities of Christian culture.
Mm-hmm.
And then years later, I don't know how old I was, probably about 9 or 10 years old. My parents, they decided there was a church split, and they went with the split, and they wanted to know more of who Jesus was, and to kind of get more familiar with more charismatic Christianity. And so from there, I grew up in that. And of course, when you have a church split, you have a whole whack of more issues that come along with that.
Totally.
You bring your baggage with you.
Yep.
And so, my dad, emotions were not encouraged. Like how I viewed emotions was, what I heard was growing up was, you can't let your emotions control how you live. Like you can't live through your emotions. And so that told me, emotions are dangerous. So don't have them.
Yeah.
That's how I handled it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too, because within that same mentality is brought within
so many cultures,
the religious institution as well.
Oh yeah.
That's demonized emotions. And so you just kind of keeps compacting, like we have all the reason to not even touch emotions whatsoever. They get pretty demonized. So yeah, that makes sense. So there was emotionally probably felt a lot of distance and disconnection inside of the family. Is that what you're saying then?
Yeah, for the most part. And then my dad would often have, when I was younger, he had some rages, and for a kid that was like really scary, and I didn't.
Oh yeah.
And that also told me, oh no, like this is not good.
Emotions are scary.
Emotions are scary. Emotions are dangerous, and especially anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mom would show emotion a little bit more, but my dad, that was anger was a bad thing. And so
and what you just explained is so common when people shove their emotions down. Rage or anger, it's like they've compacted so many emotions down. It's like the emotions finally hit the tipping point and explode out.
Yeah.
And it is that process. I know when me and Justin got married, he didn't know how to allow himself to feel emotions at a smaller level. So the only time that they got his attention is when they were really, really big, like that. So that's pretty common. Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and share. Is there anything else about your childhood that you want to share, or?
I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, that's the general. That's the gist of it.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Did you feel also? It sounded like you were kind of hinting towards being the middle child, having the middle child syndrome. Is that what was it like that for you? I couldn't tell if you were hinting at that.
No, I wasn't, but there was definitely some of that. There was always the benefits of that too. Like you got overlooked.
Yeah.
Like I remember after dishes, I could kind of sneak away out of the kitchen and no one would know that I was gone, and I was good.
Yeah.
But then there's also you get overlooked a little bit too.
Yeah.
So
interesting. So today you have, a trigger that you're like, oh, I kind of want to touch on this. What are we at with that?
Well, I'll get into this. So right now, as I stated earlier, we've sold our house and we're in the process of moving, and the whole transition. So it's kind of a broad trigger in the sense that sometimes there will be moments where it intensifies, and there might be a day where I'm like triggering, and then there may be days where it's kind of not there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so right now, we're transitioning, and I grew up on an apple farm, and I've been farming a good part of my life, and we sold our shares in the family business a little over a year ago, and so now, so farming apple growing has been kind of it's my life. It's what I know. Mm. And so my dad, when my dad was, he said one time, told us that he believed that his calling was to be a pastor. Hmm. And so here I am now. I'm off the farm. I sold my shares in the business because things in the family weren't going so well, and so it was like you got to make a choice here. This isn't working. And so that's what we chose to do. And so now I feel like I'm going into this transition of the pastoral end of things. Now the traditional sense of pastor just freaks me out, and I don't like it.
Right.
but when it comes to this consulting pastoral, that's my wheelhouse. That's where I want to go. And right now, all this transition towards this is really scary for me. And with the moving, and we're even looking at moving to the US, and I have a visa application in, and we're still waiting on the papers to be approved and to get processed. And so with all of this, it's been very scary. And for me, it's also the fear of like starting all over again.
Oh yeah.
And how do I do this? Like, even if I'm a new consultant, I can't make money on starting out. Like it's correct. You got to start low and work your way up. And so it's the whole thing is quite daunting to me. And so that's my trigger right now. So, yeah.
I mean, that's a huge trigger. I mean, you named like 10 of the biggest life stressors.
Family issues, transitioning out of business,
career. Yeah.
It's a big one. And then, like you said, you're a husband and you got a couple of kids, and there's a whole, like, how am I going to take care of this? And yeah, there's a lot there, Dave, inside of it.
And I think too, to kind of narrow it down a little bit, I think for me, that lost feeling that I have of not knowing, like, not the confidence of like, oh man, I can just go after this. I mean, I'm a 9 on the Enneagram. I'm not a 3 go getter. Like, you know what I want to do and just chase it. So for me, I wasn't really affirmed as a little boy in who I was as a person. And that was a big lack from my dad. And as I said earlier, you could see where all the pain that they've come from all the transitions in Holland and Canada and all that. And so for me, it's always been a struggle to know where to chase after something, to dream. It's been really difficult for me to actually go after that. So, yeah.
When you're feeling scared, Dave, tell me what that feels like inside of your body. I would say, when in extreme case, it's fear, it's gripping, I would freeze. And when I say freeze, it would be like, my mind goes blank. Yeah. I can't think. I can't function. I can't talk to Shanna. I'm just locked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels terrifying when we lock down like that. And I know that I've been in those moments where I feel so frozen that one of the emotions that I feel is I start getting angry inside at being frozen because I'm trying to get my brain to work. I'm trying to get activity to happen, but I can't.
Yeah.
What do you feel like? What do you feel like when you start locking up? Does it turn into frustration, anger, or does it turn into numbness, or?
I don't know exactly. It depends. It may be one of those on different occasions. Like, it depends how long I'm in the frozen state. Sometimes it lasts a few hours, like it's, or even a day. Like, then it would be more like numbness kind of stands out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just the numbness, just frozen, just locked up.
Yeah, that feels pretty common.
When you felt pretty numb and locked up, when you think about that, did that feel like that was a normal go-to in your childhood? Like, what were some of the normal experiences when things felt difficult?
Probably retreat. Definitely retreat off to myself. Probably a lot of negative thoughts. Probably being hard on myself and just not really being able to, feeling alone. Yeah.
What kind of expectations did you feel like you had on your shoulders as a kid through the message that was sent to you, either deliberately or non-deliberately?
Well, to put it logically, I mean, for me, it was, I was expected to work. We lived on a farm and I was expected to work hard. And that was something for me that was really, hard, like difficult, like, and then there was also, I had asthma and we had to do a lot of straw and hay, and I wasn't able to do that because I had asthma. And then I felt like, I mean, it was wonderful. I got out of the work, but then I felt I was, a little bit not useless. That's a little bit of a strong word, but not productive, not a productive kid in the family because I wasn't able to do the work.
Did that leave you feeling kind of guilty?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. When I think about you as a little kid, I got to imagine that there may have been some emotions that your parents had when you couldn't work, if there was such a strong value for it. Is that true? Did it feel like they had strong emotions? Dad, mom, what was your experience like with that?
Well, my mom was definitely quite sympathetic.
Good.
But my dad wasn't. He didn't know how to show the sympathy. So I was in the house with mom, and dad was doing the work with everybody else, and I was kind of forgotten about. And yeah.
Would you feel, so you use the word forgotten about. So did it feel like dad wrote you off? Did it feel like dad had disdain towards you, irritation towards you, disappointment? Like what, I'm trying to find out, like, what did it feel like for that young boy?
I think it would be irritation and disappointment. Yeah. Yeah.
What was dad's view, at least the message that you seemed to get out of dad's view of people who couldn't or didn't work?
They weren't valuable. They weren't valuable. Like, I mean, I remember some bike. We lived on a dirt road, and some bikers were driving by, and they're getting their exercise, and they're all proud of it. And dad's like, "Well, you're not working, so what good is that?"
Wow.
Like it was kind of his mindset.
Yeah. When you began this transition out of the family business and stuff, what are some of the emotions that you started feeling about your life without having something directly to go to work towards? Did you have any emotions?
I had freeze. And just kind of shock. I was in shock for probably a month or so. Just like, what just happened? Like, what just happened? What did I just do? Like, I don't have this anymore. What am I going to do? And yeah, I think there was a little bit of grief. There was definitely some grief too. And even now I still am experiencing just a mild grief. Like I kind of like a sigh. I haven't had that well up wailing or anything like that over with my grief, and I don't know if I'll have that or if that will come, but it's just been kind of like that sigh of, oh man, I miss this.
You miss the work, you miss the connection with the family. What is that
purpose?
Yeah. What is the grief?
Yeah. I miss the work. I miss the adventures of apple growing, and every year's different and all the different challenges with it. But I know there's, but then at the same time, when I was on the farm, I'm like, man, there's something I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. There's a whole lot more for me to be doing. I feel like I'm wasting my life here. Not that it's anything wrong with growing apples.
Sure.
Kudos to everybody that does it. Yeah. But for me, it was like, I'm wasting myself here. So there was that element to it as well.
What do you feel like, if I were to ask you, if Dave didn't find a job for the next 5 years and he sustained off of maybe his buyout in the business, what would you immediate response? What do you think about Dave if Dave for the next 5 years didn't have a job?
Well, right now I don't.
Right.
My job is schooling, consulting schooling, and being a dad. And right now, it's the best thing in the world. But I don't think I could do it for a long time. Yeah.
What do you think the message would be if 5 years from now Dave didn't have a job and he was just being a dad? What in your head, like if I were to ask you, like first thing that pops in your head, you're looking at Dave in the future 5 years from now, he doesn't have the job. What's your first thoughts about him?
So what have you accomplished?
Yeah.
I mean, you've accomplished being a good dad, but what else? Yeah.
Yeah. Would you feel disappointed if that guy were to walk up to you right now and he just said, "Hi, I'm Dave 5 years from now and I don't have a job and I'm just a dad"?
I would feel disappointed. Yeah.
Would it feel really hard to celebrate his victories as a father in comparison to the rest of his nothingness?
I mean, I could celebrate them, but I don't think celebrate them with an asterisk behind it.
It's good because right now this is a huge trigger for a lot of men, especially men in their relationship as in masculinity and with their fathers and stuff. And you're speaking some really strong truth. I don't think that there's a lot of men that, for a lot of men that were close with their dads, especially fathers that were workhorses, this is probably a very similar experience a lot of them would have, which is, yeah, I'd feel disappointed in that guy.
Yeah.
And I could be happy for a second, asterisks behind it, about it. And it's the right thing to say, right? Yeah, dads are good. Yeah, I'm proud of him for being a dad because I'm supposed to be if I showed up as a dad.
Yeah.
So when you think back, I can't help but behold this little boy in your past when he got sick and had to stay inside. Like, what's your first emotional response to that little boy? No filtering what you think it should be. Just what is your emotions if we were to jump in there right here in your heart in this moment? We're in the house with him. What's your thoughts towards him?
Disdain. Like, you're not what like you can't do that. You can't just do nothing. You're not. I think worthless is way too strong of a word, but there's a little bit of that feeling towards him. Yeah.
Disdain. Yeah. That's a pretty strong word. I understand that emotion. I had that towards Justin when he couldn't show up and work because he was expected to be on the job site working really hard. And if he, cut off a fingers, expect to strap some tape on it and keep moving.
Yeah.
There's no reason for that. You can keep working. You got another good
That's
hand. Right? Yeah. Man, when you say that out loud, that you have disdain, and you hear it for yourself, are there any other parts of you that think about that, about the reality that you have disdain? And what do they think about that?
Well, I mean, I'll say this. I feel like it's a little bit nuanced because I feel a little, all the work that I've been doing this last number of months, it's like, yeah, but little Dave is just a little guy who just wants to be loved. He just needs compassion. So there's that other flip side to it. And so I'm feeling a little conflicted right now.
Of course you are. And that's normal, because you've been being introduced to love, and you have that part of yourself that says, yeah, I feel reconciled with the idea of compassion and care. And so there's a part of me that can really see that this is just a little kid, and he's sick, and he needs to be able to be sick and be taken care of. And then the other part of you is having that war, and that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Would you mind going on a journey with me in that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you could, I'd just love for you to close your eyes, and we're going to connect in. And I want you to, as you see yourself as a little boy, and he's sick inside the house, and you can see the part of you that has disdain. Where is that part of you? Is he in the house? Is he outside the house? Where's the part of you that has the disdain?
He's in the house.
Yeah, where's he at in the house?
He's in just off the kitchen in the kind of the living room.
And where's little Dave at?
That's where little Dave is.
Okay, little Dave is there. And the part of you that has the disdain, where's that? In the same spot?
Yeah, he's kind of in the entranceway, kind of angry. Yeah.
Where's Dad right now?
Dad's outside working. He's gone. He's busy.
The part of you that feels disdain towards that little boy in there, what's his feelings or emotions about Dad?
He just he's angry with Dad.
What's he angry with Dad about?
He's angry with Dad for all the expectation that's put on him.
Yeah. Yeah. What does he want to be able to say to Dad?
It's just like there's almost no words, because it's like the words don't even work. And so it's like I don't even want to say anything, because it just, words don't work.
Yeah, they don't matter. They
don't matter. They don't have any effect.
That must make. Go ahead.
Yeah, he just feels voiceless.
Yeah. Yeah. So he must feel really trapped inside himself.
Yeah.
And he spent a lot of years freezing up, huh?
Yeah.
Because his words don't work. They don't matter. How about the guy that has compassion for the boy on the in the house? Where's he at?
He's sitting with little Dave with his arms around him.
What does he feel like he wants to be able to say to your dad? Is that the same things?
He just wants to. Yeah, I think there's probably the similar thing. He feels voiceless, but he just wants to protect little Dave. He just wants to stand in between and not have little Dave anywhere as close to Dad.
I want you to see, as I walk into that room, would it be okay if I came into that space with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want you to see me talking to the man that has the disdain and the man that has the compassion. Those two parts of yourself. I'm going to have a conversation with both of them. Dave, I can see that you've spent a lot of your life feeling really, really dismissed by authority, by masculinity. I can see that you've been at war within yourself. The war of acceptance and judgment, back and forth. Wanting to be able to love yourself, not feeling like you're doing enough or you're being enough at times. And your war makes a lot of sense. And I want to say that I'm so sorry, kiddo, young man, on behalf of masculinity, for the places that I haven't been able to hear you. I'm so sorry that I haven't been able to investigate your world. I'm so sorry that I've reacted in harsh ways that have caused you to go to such gridlock. Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry that you feel so unsafe and powerless to walk out and have a conversation with Dad that'll have any impact on your life. I'm so sorry that you learned through your experience that there was a lot of helplessness where you couldn't change much. And all the places where you might need to take care of yourself, that you'd be punished. The message that might get sent to you is that you're not lovable, you're not worthy of care, you're almost a burden. Dave, it sounds like the message that's been sent to you is that you're kind of a burden if you don't line up with the expectations in the world around you. Does that feel true to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that you have felt like a burden. I'm so sorry that the message has been sent to you that your emotions and the well-being of those emotions, and that your body and the well-being of your body somehow is a burden. And I'm so sorry that the message that's been sent to you is that you're only good if you can show up and be productive in a very specific expression of productivity. I'm so sorry that it's been so hard to just settle into the enjoyment of being a son, that I'm sorry that there wasn't a place to settle in and be like, yeah, I just feel enjoyed. I'm just a son, and that's cool, and I can feel my father's affection. I give you permission, Dave, to have a voice. You have been gridlocked in fear for so long. And as a man, from one man to another, I give you permission to not be shut down. I give you permission to not be gridlocked. I give you permission to express yourself in a way that feels like it's impactful for your own heart. Dave, when I say that you have permission, what does that make you feel?
It makes me feel, again, it feels a nuance. It feels like I can have a voice, but yet I still feel like I don't have a voice.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. That's real. Thank you so much for your honesty. Dave, I think it's time to go out into the field and have a conversation with Dad. Would you like to do that?
Yes and no.
Tell me about that no, Dave.
No, it's that defeat. It's that defeat. I mean, if you're with me, then maybe.
Yeah, I would love to be with you.
Maybe we could do that.
Yeah. Dave, I'm so sorry that you felt so alone in having these conversations. I'm sorry that it felt like I'm about to go into something that I'm only going to be defeated in, and I'm going to be so alone doing it. I bet you felt really exposed the times you've tried to share and that it didn't go well. I bet that felt really, really painful, huh?
Yes.
Why don't we connect to that pain for a second? Can you see a moment where you tried to have a voice and it just did nothing whatsoever, and it maybe only exacerbated the situation?
Yes, there's many, but yeah.
How about we take one of those moments? Why don't you describe it to me if you feel the permission to?
I can see a more recent past one where I was in the orchard having an argument, and it just never materialized to anything. It just basically a hollering match, an emotional hollering match that didn't go anywhere, and it was pointless.
Yeah. Why don't we go find a point to that? Would you mind if we went to that place, that moment?
Yeah, we can do that.
Why don't you describe to me what you're feeling in your body as we walk up to your dad in that orchard?
I'm just feeling tension in my muscles.
Yeah.
Nervousness kind of down in my stomach.
And what would you need to just kind of relieve that stress? What would help you to feel safe or secure as I'm with you in that moment?
I'm not sure.
That makes sense.
I'm not sure. As long as I'm knowing that you're present with me, that I have a witness, that I have a voice.
An advocate?
An advocate, yeah. That's the word.
I would love to participate as an advocate. I want you to just see in that imagery, me just putting my my hand on your arm, on your shoulder, and just standing there with you for a minute. You're not alone, kiddo. You're not alone, young man. You're not alone, big man. You're not alone. There are so many places that it felt like you got passed over in your childhood. There's so many places where it felt like I'm so not seen here. And this is my role. I'm the middle child. I'm going to make this work out well for me in some moments, but it's going to hurt really bad in others. But I'm never going to have my voice. I'll just go unseen. I'll be really alone. Does that feel true to you as I say that out loud, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Dave, I give you permission to not perform with me. I give you permission to be messy. I give you permission to say I'm too scared to do something. I give you permission to say I need help. I need understanding. As we approach your dad, there's nothing off limits that you can't say that I won't respect. I'm so sorry that people didn't know how to check in on Dave. I'm so sorry for the places where Dave never learned how to check in on himself. I'm so sorry for how big Dad felt and how small you feel when you approach him in these areas. I bet you felt very small approaching Dad on some of these issues. Does that feel true to you, buddy?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yeah. As we walk up to your dad, can you imagine that he probably feels pretty small?
Yeah, he's small. He's probably pretty small inside.
Yeah, he is. He's probably learned how to cope and protect himself. He's probably learned how to put up some pretty big defenses so no one could hurt the little kid who feels so small in life. Feels so overwhelmed at trying to take care of his 5 kids and figure out how to navigate this world, coming from a place that was coming back from the brink of disaster when he was born into it. He's probably been trying to survive by putting on this big sheet of armor. Does that probably feel kind of true?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not so big anymore. He's actually pretty little. What do you think when you hear that Dad might be kind of little?
It takes me to a place where I'm not looking up to him, but I'm looking directly to him.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I want you to repeat after me as you look at your dad. Dad.
Dad.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
I can see the tears. It's so good to be able to connect.
Yeah. You're not bad for crying. You're really brave. Say it again. Me too, Dad.
Me too, Dad.
I feel scared too.
I feel scared too.
What are you feeling as he said those words? Me too.
I'm feeling calm in humanity.
Yeah. Describe that.
I'm feeling that we're on the same playing field. We're both hurting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Anything else you're feeling with that?
No, that's it right now.
What do you want to tell him in this moment, connected to common humanity? About yourself, about him, whatever.
Dad, I'm so sorry for all the pain that you've experienced. All the pain you experience now, all the pain you experienced as a little boy. All the hurt in your own childhood, all the betrayal in your own childhood. I'm sorry that you felt like you had to cover it all up. That you had to hide behind it. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
There's healing for you. There's healing for you too. Yeah.
Why don't you tell your dad now about your sadness over your life Now that you've been able to acknowledge his pain.
Yeah, Dad, it's been hard. It's been a hard life for me, not being able to dream, not being able to know who I was, not to be championed as a young boy in what I was good at, in who I was as a person, in my character. It's something that I really missed.
Yeah.
And it's something that I wish I had.
Yeah. Dad, I know that you're hurt and scared. Why don't you tell him that?
Dad, I know you're really hurt and scared.
And so am I.
And so am I.
And that matters that I share this.
And that matters that I share this.
Even if you never connect to it.
Even if you never connect to it.
I felt like I really had to perform for your love.
I felt like I really had to perform for your love.
And I felt really small and insignificant if I couldn't.
And I felt really small and insignificant if I couldn't.
And that really hurt me, Dad.
And that really hurt me, Dad.
I just needed to know that I mattered.
I just needed to know that I mattered.
And that you loved me.
And that you loved me.
Even if I couldn't work the way you expected.
Even if I couldn't work the way you expected.
Dave, in this moment, is there anything else you want to get out to your dad?
Just that I love him.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell him that.
I love you, Dad.
Yeah.
I know it's been hard for you. But I love you.
Yeah. I want you to just give that little kid, as in Dad, a hug, if it feels right for you. If it feels okay. And then you and I are going to go have a conversation with a little boy named Dave.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't we go back in the house together? Where's Dave at? Is he still on that couch?
Yeah.
Why don't you and I sit down with him? And why don't you repeat after me? Hey, kiddo.
Hey, kiddo.
I'm so sorry for the places I've looked at you with disdain.
I'm so sorry for the places I've looked at you with disdain.
I was angry when you couldn't perform.
I was angry when you couldn't perform.
Because I was dying to get Dad's love and affection.
Because I was dying to get Dad's love and affection.
And I thought that you being sick.
And I thought that you being sick.
Was the reason I couldn't feel it.
Was the reason I couldn't feel it.
I've thought that you not being able to perform.
I thought that you not being able to perform.
To a certain standard or expectation.
To a certain standard or expectation.
Is why I couldn't get to love.
Is why I couldn't get to love.
The truth is.
The truth is.
I've withheld love from you.
I've withheld love from you.
I've judged you for this.
I've judged you for this.
And Dave, as you're looking at him, I just want you to imagine the same eyes you had for your dad when you said me too. And I just want you to look at that little boy. I want you to be able to say me too.
Yeah, me too. Me too, kiddo.
Yeah.
That deep compassion that you had for your dad, you could hear you just wanting to tell him that you loved him and that you saw him. Do you feel like you feel that towards that little boy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why don't you communicate that to him however you feel right about it?
Little Dave, I'm so sorry that I had to stain for you, and I see you. I see that you weren't capable of the work, but that doesn't negate your value. You are so loved. You're so worthy. You're so worth being known. I see you. I love you, kiddo.
Now I want you to see you. I want you to think back to right after you sold your portion of the farm and you were stuck in freeze.
Mm-hmm.
You're just frozen there.
Yeah.
And I want you, as you are now, to walk up to that man who's stuck in freeze because he's doing the thing he's been afraid of his whole life.
Mm.
He's walking away from proving that he matters on the farm to his dad. He's walking away from feeling like he is contributing. He's walking away from feeling like he's powerful because he works hard. He's having to let go of all of his identity, and he has so much fear about being a failure, fear about not knowing what's happening, but an inner knowing that he has to. And I want you to just see yourself when you walk up to him, grabbing him, walking up to him and like bear hugging him.
Because he really needed a big, big, big hug in that moment as he's confronting all of that.
Oh, he did.
As you see yourself hugging him, describe what you're feeling as you feel the capacity to share.
It's just such a big hug with so much loaded to it. But what I can say is it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Can you tell him that you see why it's so scary that he would need to go into freeze? That it makes a lot of sense that his protectors are coming up? Because it feels like he's that little kid again that's stuck in the house while everyone else is working. It feels like that I'm on the outside. Of course,
I'm going to be failing dad again.
Yeah, it's like there's been years and years of performance. 40 plus years of performance. And you don't have to perform. And it's such a foreign concept to that Dave. It's just like, I don't understand. But it's coming, and it's going to be okay. Yeah.
Tell him I choose you.
Yeah. Yeah, I choose you. I choose you even despite being frozen and not knowing.
And I know you have greatness in you.
And I know you have greatness in you.
You're not going to fail.
You're not going to fail.
You can dream.
You can dream.
You don't have to get it all figured out.
You don't have to get it all figured out.
You have room to breathe.
You have room to breathe.
You have room to explore.
You have room to explore.
Is there anything that he needs to hear from you?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think we got it covered.
It's good.
What are you feeling?
Yeah.
I'm feeling there's like a lot to process. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Dave, you did so well allowing allowing yourself to be in that.
Yeah.
And I think what's really cool right now is just the way that, like, again, going back to how you've processed life, you're not a guy that cries a lot. And that was really brave to let that emotion come up when you saw Dad in that way and connected with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can feel that you have such a big heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's to kind of bring things a little full circle now. Like, there was so much disconnect in the family, and lately there's been I'm pushing back into stepping into a relationship with my dad a little bit. And right now it's been really challenging because over the last year, my dad is developing a lot of memory loss. And so it's really sad. And so the compassion for him is just, it's easy. It's easier to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that as you're moving forward, all the ways that you get to process about Dad are from having a conversation with that little boy. And I mean that even if you get these beautiful moments of when he's in clarity mentally and stuff, like, I don't know how far he is along on his path, but the clear moments that he is having, you get to be honest with stuff, both about how you love him and about pain inside of your life, and not feel like there's some big guy that's bigger than you and wants to dominate you. Like, he's just like me. And we're just having a peer-to-peer dialogue about the idea that no one's a villain here, but we all have pain. And and I can love me even if I don't meet some expectation inside of his pain that he has for me.
And I can have as much, I can see just such deep compassion for your dad, for you. And I can just hear your heart like crying out for you to see yourself that way. Even when you're talking about all the fear that you've had and getting down on yourself, that ability, like, you see your dad and you're like, yeah, there's things he did that hurt me, but I just feel compassion for him.
Yeah.
And that's, your heart's voice is crying out like, I know I'm not doing everything perfect, but I just want you to feel compassion for me, for where I'm at.
Yeah. And you get to start to bridge that gap for yourself.
Yeah.
When you said you have a lot to process, were there some things that came up that surprised you or that you'd never thought of before? Or?
Yeah, I the day the mediation happened, there was lawyers and everything, and it wasn't fun. It was a horrible day, and I wandered out of the building, and my family, my dad, my mom, and my sister and my brother-in-law were there, and I couldn't look the other way. I couldn't look. I just couldn't look at them, and I walked down.
Because you were ashamed, or because you were angry, or because you were hurt?
Ashamed. And so I walked down the building, and I was outside waiting for Shanna to come get me, and that was where I was in shock. And I was outside in downtown the city, all by myself. No one's around. There's no people around. It's just dark. It's night, and all the feeling of all the what you described as the memories of performance just kind of locked in shock in that moment of like what just happened, and like all of it rolled into one moment. It's like, oh wow, that's crazy. Like it was just a little bit of a big thought right there.
Yeah, here's what I want you to do for homework, Dave. Because the way that we compassionately met with you as a little boy, I want you to go and have that conversation with that adult man who's having the amalgamation of all of that performance and all of those experiences hit him in one moment. He's in shock. He's feeling alone and abandoned out there in the quietness of the night. And I want you to spend some time on your own talking to him, finding out what he needs to express.
Yeah. But before, I'm listening and I'm like, why don't you close your eyes just one more time? The thought I have is I've walked through situations where you have to be separated from your family or the group of people that you've belonged to your whole life, and feeling like you're the one person on the outside is so sad and overwhelming.
Yeah.
And lonely, even if you know that you're doing it to take care of your heart, or and brave, but it's painful. And I just see like part of your heart being so broken as you walked away, feeling like you didn't know if or when or how relationship would be restored and how it would look. And I just want you to imagine God coming and lifting your face up where you are like kind of your head's low because you feel ashamed and you couldn't walk by them. I want you to imagine God like pulling your eyes up and saying, I see you. I see that you're doing the best that you know how. I see that you're trying so hard. I see that this costs you so much. I see that you feel scared and that all you want is to feel like you belong and have your family with you and for you. Would it be okay if we had a couple people join us in this moment? Like if we had a couple people come into this memory?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that Shanna wasn't there yet. Would it be okay if she comes and me and Justin come?
Yeah.
So I want you to imagine that you walk out past the mediation, past your family, and when you get to the side of the building, instead of you ending up there by yourself to be in shock, when you walk out there, you walk out and you see me and Justin and Shanna there, and we just all grab you. We just all come and we just wrap our arms around you, and we let you just crumple. We let you just collapse into our arms and cry. Yeah. And we're just there with you, being like, we know this is hard. We know this is scary. We know this is overwhelming. Like there's an attachment trauma going off in your body from having to walk through this. And I want you to imagine you just feeling safe to completely collapse. You don't have to hold it together. You don't have to be alone. You didn't leave a family into nothing. And I want you to start to see the people that you're close with. One by one, people from LCMC, people, your kids. I want you to just imagine that person after person starts to show up. And on the other side of mediation isn't aloneness. It isn't you by yourself having to figure out now what. It's you getting to be supported and loved by community. What do you feel as I describe that?
It's kind of hard to imagine.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful picture, but it's hard. It's really hard to imagine.
Hard to connect to.
Yeah.
Is that because there's such deep pain of aloneness in that memory?
Yeah, there's just so many big emotions in that memory. It's like there's like elation that it's over. There's almost joy because it's over, but then there's there's just so much going on. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, Dave's heart, this is a memory where you're not meant to have to carry the weight of all the emotions. You're meant to have family and friends that cheer with you, that clap, that it's over, that celebrate, that hold you for the sadness and celebrate the joy. You're meant to not feel alone.
Yeah.
And so Dave's heart, I give you permission that you'd feel love, that love would come into that moment, that love and joy and support would come into that moment.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah. And with that, Dave, you can
open your eyes, Dave.
You get to take that moment, like I said, with the homework, and you get to visit it, and you get to visit it with people. And as you start feeling safe inside of receiving love from relationships, like you have some that you feel loved by, but I think that there's more. Part of the reconciliation process is getting the faces of the people that do care into that space to be with you in that moment. And I think that's going to be really powerful. And being able to even talk to yourself some more and find out what else you needed in that moment and identify with his pain and speak it out loud to him. If that makes sense. Yeah. So with that said, I just really thank you that you would allow this, not only with us, but with all of our listeners to partake in it. And I think it's something that it's an invitation for a lot of people. And I'll speak specifically to men who have had that relationship with their dad, really trying to perform inside of those spaces, to see just a man's man like yourself. I'm just a farmer and just a normal dude and don't cry a whole lot, but I'm connecting to my emotions in this season to really give permission to that expression of men. There's that people group of men that are in that place that like wouldn't know to go there, wouldn't know how, would feel awkward going there. And I think you gave a lot of permission to them along with everyone else on the table that is navigating emotions. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks.
And with what we saw here as we were walking with Dave, here it would be easy for any of us to just be like, yeah, I went through a season of transition right now. I don't know where I'm going with stuff, but it's just normal. I just have some emotions about it. And it's like, no, there are heightened emotions in Dave's story because of history that didn't get taken care of. And the emotions that are exploding in this season about the transition and about possibly, stepping into a new career, there's parts of the unknown that feels difficult for anyone, but there's so much more emotions that are exacerbated by history. And again, when we can get love into that history and reconciliation into that history and truth into that history, it starts redefining things. Like Dave's going to continue to perpetually move forward, feeling more and more confidence in his next steps. He's going to feel more power to even investigate things where he feels like he's having to perform and get settled inside of himself. And he's probably going to feel a lot more confidence in navigating things with his dad, because now all of a sudden dad's not this big thing. At some level, all of a sudden he's like, oh, I see the little kid. I see how he's scared. And I can have this dialogue peer to peer. And it's resetting the way that it's beginning more of the process of resetting the way he's relating to life and family inside of it. And so that's part of what you guys get to have access to if you jump into the pathway to freedom, is you get to begin to have the ahas and clarity on how to navigate in certain areas and begin to get what you always really needed that's been kind of driving your life. So yeah, with that said, Dave, thanks for not demonizing your emotions. Thanks for also risking jumping into LCMC with us. For a guy with your background, like that's so brave, being like, I'm going to do an entire year
about emotions.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I love growing in self-awareness. It's just like, it's something I've desired all my whole life, and I didn't even know it. But once it came along, I'm like, doing the triggers, all you Pathway to Freedom people, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, thank you. And you love doing the school, huh?
Oh, absolutely. It's just amazing. Life-changing. Yeah.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, Dave. Thanks for participating with us, man. So with that said, anything else you want to wrap up with?
If you want any more information, you can go to Justin and Abi, justinandabi.com, or email us at lfa@stumvolconsulting.com, and have a good day. Feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Love your little kid. Have compassion on yourself.
Yeah. And Dave, I love you, man.
Yeah.
Love you guys too.
You're a love nugget.
All right, everybody. Peace out.